How cool is that? Hey everybody, welcome back to my RC cave. Today I've got the Beta FPV Pavo 35. This is a 3.5 6S Cinewhoop designed by Beta FPV, and they have actually been killing it lately with their Pavo series. I don't know if you guys have heard of the Pavo Pico, the Pavo 20, the Pavo 25 V2, and now the Pavo 35. The Pavo series has been super popular for them, and that's in large part because they've started this bring your own VTX philosophy where they will sell you a pre-built, pre-tuned drone, but you have to install your own VTX. And that allows you the possibility of using Walksnail, DJI-03, HD0, even analog. You can put any VTX you want in here, and it saves you a little bit of money. It's just enough do it yourself so you can see how the drone is put together, but you're still getting a drone that's been pre-tuned. You don't have to do any soldering, and it brings the cost of a bind and fly way down, making it easier to just grab one of these and throw in a VTX that you might already have. Beta FPV is marketing this as a lightweight and powerful Cinewhoop with a high thrust to weight ratio, and from what I've seen, the Pavo 35 is going to be a contender for people who have to have the best image quality possible. And by that I mean people who need to run a full GoPro or at least a GoPro Bones. What I'm going to do is give you guys a real close look at the Pavo 35. I'm going to show you some flight footage, and I'll give you my honest opinions about what I like and what I don't like about the Pavo 35. And I would appreciate if you guys would subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Pavo 35. I'd really like to hear from you. All right, let's get into it. All right, you guys, here's what the Pavo 35 looks like when it comes to you. I can't tell you guys how excited I am to crack open this box. It looks really nice. Beta FPV spares no expense in their packaging. You get an extra set of Gemfan D90 props. This is an extra set because there is already a set installed on the drone. An LED light strip, a hardware bag with a molded plastic GoPro mount, camera mount, and some other hardware, a cable for connecting your VTX to your flight controller, a basic diagram showing you how the frame is assembled, a wiring diagram for your ESC and flight controller all in one board, a support card, and finally, the drone itself. I won't lie to you guys, I was super excited about this one. I was waiting for that UPS guy to drop this off at my house because the 3.5-inch Cinewhoop is the one that I fly the most, and I really like the looks of the Pavo 35. With the functional ducts, Beta FPV advertises these ducts as adding about 400 grams of thrust. We'll have to see if that's true after the flight test, but the ducts feel great. They're absolutely solid, but they do have a little bit of flex, so it looks like they'll survive some crashes. The standoffs and the mounts for the battery straps are both aluminum, and they look really nice. I really appreciate that these are aluminum because on the original Pavo 25, they were 3D printed, and I did break mine in a crash. And between the bling on those 2006 motors and the custom aluminum pieces you have on the frame, the Pavo 35 just has a premium feel to it. It feels great in the hands. I can't wait to see how it's going to fly after I get my VTX installed in there. All right, you guys, I've got the DJI-03 installed in my Pavo 35 and my poor Pavo Pico. It's DJI-03-less, but that's what's so cool about the Pavo series is that it's designed so you can swap out VTXs quickly, which allows me to have a bunch of Cinewhoops in my fleet without spending a ton of money. Now, installing a VTX in the Pavo 35 is pretty straightforward, but if you're using the DJI-03, there are a few pitfalls you want to watch out for. I'll go over installing the DJI-03 later on in this video because I know some of the pilots who are watching this might not be using the DJI-03. My Crossfire receiver is installed right there, and this is a Beta FPV Crossfire antenna. I think most people are going to opt for ELRS just because it's a little bit cheaper. But I do like my Crossfire because it's reliable, the range is great, and when you're using the DJI-03, it's nice to know that you have a receiver that will go anywhere your video link will go. The camera mount is molded plastic and it sticks out just enough to protect your FPV camera, but it doesn't prevent you from installing ND filters, which is important because ND filters are critical for a Cinequad like this one. There's a single camera plate that holds both the FPV camera and the action camera, and it is soft mounted with these rubber grommets. The screws that are used will lock the rubber grommets with a certain amount of compression, which seems like a pretty good solution to me, because I've seen camera mounting solutions that are both too soft and too firm, and neither one is effective. So we'll have to see if we can get some nice smooth footage out of our DJI O3 after our test flight. The GoPro mount is injected molded plastic, and I really like that they give you a plastic mount, because it seems a lot stronger to me than some of the TPU mounts, because with TPU mounts you never know if the screws are going to pull through that soft TPU in a crash. This mount is secured to the camera plate with 4 screws, and it looks super secure. This quad is using Beta FPV's new Lava motors. These are 2006 2400 kV, which is a pretty high kV for 6S, so we should have plenty of power to carry a full GoPro. And Beta FPV says that you can get 12 minutes of flight time with this 1100 milliamp Lava 6S battery. The Pavo 35 is using Beta FPV's F722 35 amp all-in-one board. This is version 2 of this board, which has Beal Heli 32 ESCs instead of the Beal Heli S ESCs that were on version 1. It has a higher PWM frequency, up to 128K. It has 16 megabytes of black box, an ICM 42688 gyro, and it does have 6 UARTs available, so it's real easy to install a GPS if you want to. You'll notice there is no option to buy the Pavo 35 with a GPS pre-installed, but this board will allow you to install one if you want to. And of course, this board has a plug for a digital VTX, making it super simple to install your DJI O3 or whatever VTX you're using. The Pavo 35 frame features a captured XT60 connector right here built into the front of the quad. Now, some reviewers didn't like that and actually listed that as one of the major drawbacks of this drone, because they say that when you install your battery lead like this, it could rub against a GoPro. However, if you keep your battery installed in the middle of the quad with a GoPro installed up front, your center of gravity is going to be like this. So when you install a GoPro up front, you need to move your battery back in order to maintain proper center of gravity, which will give you more than enough space to install your battery lead without it rubbing against the GoPro. And in fact, if the XT60 had been in the back, the opposite would have been the problem. So as long as you move your battery to the back of the quad in order to maintain proper center of gravity when you have a GoPro installed, the captured XT60 up front is not a problem, and in fact, I think it's a good design choice. Beta FPV has a short video that walks you through the process of installing the DJI O3, but there are a few things to watch out for. First of all, these 1.3 millimeter screws right here can strip out very easily. You want to use a quality driver and be careful not to over tighten. Beta FPV does include a simple 1.3 millimeter wrench in the hardware kit. You also want to be very careful how you route your camera cable. In their instructional video, they tuck the excess camera cable back into the frame, but that didn't convince me, because that camera cable is so close to the props that if it loosened up at all, you would chop the camera cable. So what I did is I routed it along the top of the frame and used zip ties to secure it in place, leaving just enough slack right behind the camera to make sure that I'm not transferring any vibrations from the frame to the camera itself. The stock DJI O3 antenna snaps into place into this molded plastic antenna holder, but it does require you to bend the antenna. You can zip tie it if you want to, but it doesn't seem necessary. It's not going anywhere. The antenna sits pretty low behind the battery, but the range and penetration of the DJI O3 is so good that it shouldn't be an issue. You do have to be careful when fitting this antenna into place so that you're not straining the cable that goes into the VTX. A longer aftermarket antenna that sits above the battery might be a good fit here, but if you go that route, make sure the antenna is flexible enough to bend the way Beta FPV designed their antenna holder, or the cable is long enough so that it doesn't have to bend. Finally, don't forget to install an SD card into your DJI O3, because once the quad is assembled, you don't have easy access to that SD card slot. I noticed some other reviewers thought that not having access to the SD card was a huge drawback to this quad. I actually don't think that's a big deal because you can access the USB port on the DJI O3 and you can just access the SD card over USB. One of the things that I really like about the O3 is that you can read the SD card contents without plugging in a flight battery, just with your USB cable. You're basically just using the DJI O3 as an SD card reader. And if you ever use the onboard storage, you'd have to plug in USB anyway. Beta FPV has provided us with a handy cable for installing our LED light strip. Just don't forget to route it through this standoff so it doesn't get chopped up in the props. The light strip is plug and play. You plug it right into this cable, run it around the prop guards, and the installation should be real easy. LED lights do add about 5 grams of weight with no performance benefit, but some people really like them. And I'm one of those people. How cool is that? Beta FPV has set up the Pavo 35 with the LED strip all ready to go. All you have to do is assign a switch to your radio and you can turn it off and on like that. You're going to want to turn them off for filming and turn them on when you need to find your quad or just when you want to look super cool. All right, you guys, now I'm at my flying spot. I'm testing out the Beta FPV Lava 1100 milliamp 6S battery and see what type of flight times I can get on this battery. Here's some DVR footage from my maiden flight with the Pavo 35. Now this is straight out of my goggles. There's no image stabilization or gyro flow. This is a slow cruisy flight because that's how I fly Cinewhoops. After all, it's all about getting that cinematic footage. The first thing I noticed in my test flight is how powerful the Pavo 35 is. If you look at this DVR footage, I'm only at about 30% throttle and sometimes even less as I'm just cruising around, and that's with my Lava 1100 milliamp 6S battery, which is fairly heavy. I love these 2006, 2400 kV motors on 6S. They are super powerful, and the ducts definitely add some efficiency because if I just blip the throttle, I'll end up in the trees. Beta FPV says the ducts add about 400 grams of thrust, and while I have no way of verifying that exact number, I can say that they definitely add to the efficiency. The 1100 milliamp 6S Lava battery gave me about 9.5 minutes of flight time on this slow cruisy flight, and that's with me landing at above 3.5 volts per cell. I'm sure I could easily squeeze 10 minutes out of it, but this is a brand new LiPo and I don't feel like destroying it just yet. I got about 8 minutes with my CNHL 1100 milliamp LiPos, and those are old batteries with tons of cycles on them. I also tried some 850 milliamp 6S LiPos, which make the quad super lightweight, and it flies awesome with those small lightweight batteries, and I still got a good 5 minutes of flight time. Here's some footage from the DJI O3 so you can see that I didn't get any jello, or at least none that's noticeable after running the footage through GyroFlow. I did run everything through GyroFlow because that's my normal workflow for cinematic FPV footage. I think the Pavo 35 is a contender to be one of the best 3.5 Cinewhoops on the market right now. It has tons of power and it's still relatively lightweight. I love the choice of the 2006 motors and the high kV on 6S. You really have all the power you would want, and the functional ducts keep the quad super efficient. I also really like how those ducts are very low profile. That prevents it from getting blown around in the wind, and it helps it fly way better than other Cinewhoops out there. The Bring Your Own VTX system is great for people who have a fleet of quads. It means this pre-built drone is pretty affordable, assuming you've already got a VTX that you want to use. It is true that you don't have access to the SD card in the DJI O3, but I don't mind that since I do have access to the USB port and I can do everything I need to do with my USB cable. If you want to learn more about the Pavo 35, please check out the links I've got in the video description below. All right, you guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.